As far as being fit and getting in shape, and you don't need much. You just need to really put yourself first and realize that you can do it. Like get rid of the chatter around you and just really kind of take a look at yourself and start small. Like you really have to start small. Like that's a huge start with baby steps, but you have to keep moving. Like that's the real key. If I could put it short, like keep moving.
That's the voice of Adriana Ferns. Today on Living Big Mindfully, I decided to go back and look at some of the big powerhouse episodes of the year. And this one stood out. We recorded this early on. It was one of my first releases, I think number 2. And I have to tell you, this episode has been shared and downloaded, and I've got so much great feedback on it. And for good reason. Adriana is really an inspirational powerhouse. She has an incredible backstory, and she has gone through and survived, and she's come out, and she's resilient and strong, and she's just an amazing human. So I wanted to share this again as we head into the holidays and we head into the new year, because her story tells us that we can really do anything. So sit back, get your favorite latte or Christmas drink, and put your feet up and enjoy. We also have a few laughs as well, which is fun. Remember, there is that free gift this time of year, my copy of 12 Ways to Care for Your Nervous System. So make sure you jump onto katechampionauthor.com and download that. It is my gift to you for the holiday season as a thank you, and to help you, support you, because that's just what I want to do. Thank you, help you, support you. So jump on, get that gift copy. It's a great little book. Share it with your friends if you need to. And remember, if you're enjoying the content, please comment, review, and share the love. Okay, here's the conversation with Adriana.
Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Tell me just a little bit about yourself and you kind of how we connected, right? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me first, Kate. So my name is Adriana Ferns. I live in Warren, Rhode Island right now. I was born and raised in Rhode Island. I'm a personal trainer at Bristol Total Fitness. I'm the head trainer here. I'm also a business partner and the community outreach director at Soul Friend Yoga. So that's a company where we sell yoga products and clothing, and some of the funds go to support our mission to provide free yoga for at-risk communities and animals. We're doing a lot of stuff with like the local shelters too, so can't leave the pets out. Also, I'm a MovNat level 1 trainer, a yoga instructor. So I have a pretty good sports nutrition specialist. I get into a lot of different things. I have ADHD and I'm not medicated. So I've done a lot of work around that to try to not be medicated. So I definitely get into a lot of different things because I get bored easy. So being a trainer is a great job for me because you're always with the new personality every hour. There's always new information, there's new science, there's new fitness. And it's an ever growing, there's always some kind of like evolution, or even digression, like, oh, this wasn't a good idea, we're going to backpedal. So there's a lot of different, it's a really stimulating job on a lot of levels. And it's a career that I found really suited me well. I had a hard time, and we'll get more into it growing up, just really being into anything and finding anything I was good at. So I do well in this job. I'm pretty successful in it. I think because of, it's a very busy, constantly changing job. So it really, I do well in situations like that in life.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about situations in life, I mean, you have a really amazing story. I'm really passionate about real people with these amazing stories. So you actually, if I remember correctly from your book, that you actually started this fitness journey while you were incarcerated. You started to get your life together. You started your fitness journey. You lost some weight. You have become a real champion for women and a real champion for fitness and a real champion for women who, have been incarcerated and trying to get their lives back. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that if you're comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. So growing up, I had a lot of issues. Elementary school was okay because that's still kind of fun. And, there's a lot more playing involved in life. I had a really hard time just with my ADHD. If I was interested in something, I was good at it. And if I wasn't interested, I just didn't. It's not that I didn't want to do well. I just couldn't. It didn't interest me enough to keep my attention. So, I'm 40. I'm going to be 45 in July. And, the ADHD train wasn't really, it wasn't as they knew about it. I was diagnosed when I was 13. So especially girls, they didn't diagnose as much because you didn't have the hyper, and I was hyper. So I was a really busy kid. I was physical. I was always moving. So anyway, I started getting in a lot of trouble. We moved from the city to the suburbs, and probably about, I was always kind of up to stuff. I built tree houses. I was doing things. But like 14, we were taking my mom's friend's car at night and like driving it. We were kind of jerky. And it started there. And I started getting into probably about, I think I was 15, I started getting into pot. I wasn't a huge drinker. We snuck alcohol. I think I was like maybe 13 when that happened and I got grounded. So that was something I kind of stayed away from just because, the experience. But I also played soccer. I was athletic. So drinking didn't really work for me because people get sick and I didn't like that. I threw up. So I stayed away from alcohol just because of that. So pot was a lot easier as an athlete to consume and not have any issues with. Then it got bad to the point. And there's a lot of stuff in just life where I think something definitely happened during my childhood that I think I disassociated with, some kind of trauma, I think. And it's weird because I had a therapist back in the day and I'm like, maybe we should hypnotize me to figure it out. And she had a good point. She said, you're living okay. Like you're doing well, like you're, sexually, like you have healthy sexual relationships at your age now and this and that. And she's like, you've come a long way. Do you really want to open up something that you can't remember? She's like, there's a reason that you don't remember it. And she's like, I'm not saying you can't or you shouldn't. I'm just questioning, do you want to know what happened to you? Is it that important to live your life to find out? Like, is it bothering you that much? And I'm like, well, that's a good question. She's like, because there is going to be a repercussion if you find out, like, something might happen where you really go backwards. And she's like, and I'm not deterring you. She's a great therapist, but what I'm telling you is you have to be prepared for a lot of, falling backwards if we do this. So I kind of was like, what? I don't need to, deep down, I'm aware, and it makes a lot of sense that something did because there were other I wouldn't say like all out rapes, but kind of like assaults when I got older, like, because you kind of, I think when something happens to you younger, you're more of a magnet to it as you get older.
You don't recognize, the triggers and the flags and, the dangerous people. It's like your gut instinct is a little off, right?
And I think that started
situations. Yeah.
And I was always putting myself in those situations. I was with, it started getting worse as I got older. I started doing different drugs, psychedelics. Then I started with cocaine. That was really my downfall, and as you read in my book. So I was probably, I'm going to say I was 19 when I started doing cocaine. And I, because I have ADHD, I liked it.
A stimulant is perfect for the ADHD brain.
I felt so smart. I was like, I'm so smart when I'm on this. I'm artistic. I can write. Like, I loved it. And, some of my other friends were into like downers. I'm like, this shit sucks because I don't want to feel like that, and I really gravitated towards it and to a really bad place. And, again, I was just doing things, sleeping with people, and like, with consent and with that, like I put myself in situations where I drink so much as I got older to come down. And then it was just a really slippery slope. So it got to a point where I was really going downhill. And it was 2007. I had smuggled pot from Arizona to Rhode Island, numerous times, as you can see in my book. And then a friend of mine was like, let's do this big deal. I just need you to hold on to this meth and then we'll drive it somewhere or someone will pick it up. So needless to say, to make a long story short, one of the people involved had been caught doing something across the West Coast coming home or coming back here. And so he set us up to get himself out of trouble. So, Yeah, it was the weirdest thing I'll never forget. I had been up a few days partying, and I'm driving, and I don't know if you listen to the Beastie Boys, but the song Sabotage came on, and I hadn't slept. So like my whole head was like, this is weird. And I told myself, I'm like, I'm either going to make a lot of money and I'll get clean, or I'm going to end up in prison. And the latter happened, where I got caught. And it was a relief, like when it happened. And it was crazy when it happened. Like, everyone's seen that show Cops. There were like helicopters. There was like somebody on my back with their knee. There was guide guns to me. Like, it was wild. Yeah. And it was strange the way I felt when it happened. I wasn't sober either when it happened, but I felt relief. I felt like I could stop running. I felt everything just stopped. And I felt like, I wouldn't say good is a really weird word to use, but I felt like, like I can rest at that point.
Yeah. So let's just take a moment. That's powerful, right? So let's just take a moment, maybe just take a breath, and just as you share that with me and you kind of reflect on that. I mean, that was a pivotal moment in your life, right? That was a pivotal moment that you kind of reflect on that. What do you notice coming up? Like kind of thoughts, feelings, images? What comes up for you?
I think when I say it and I hear it, I feel connected to that feeling where that was pivotal, where it changed my life. Like, I don't feel sad that it happened in any way. I feel like that was essential. Like, I wouldn't be here talking to you today if that moment didn't happen. I feel like, I'm not a religious person. I was born Catholic. Now I'm recovering Catholic. I always make a joke. But I'm pretty spiritual, and I believe in a higher power. I don't think it's a man in a beard yelling at me that I, smoked pot when I was like, I think it's very much deeper than that. So I do believe it was like a divine intervention that was like, we need you here. You're like, my guardian angels were on like overtime that day. And,
Yeah, that's really powerful. Again, so I really want to take a moment just to honor that, because I don't know, I really do feel that that was divine intervention and completely changed your life, right? Completely changed, the course of your life. Yeah. So from there, you ended up in prison, right? And you were overweight. Again, from your book, you were overweight, and you were really passionate about getting your physical health and mental health back on track.
I actually ended up in a county first, because they hold you before trial. So what happened was, I wasn't overweight when it happened. I never had been in my life. I played soccer, even though I partied obviously a lot. I danced all the time. I never had been overweight in my life. So when you get put in there, there's nothing to focus on but like commissary, food, and mail. And those are like the two things you have to look forward to. And the food is absolutely disgusting in the counties. I mean, it is bad. It is like cakes. If you're getting canned green beans, it's a good day. Like, I think they think potato is a vegetable. Like, it really, like, it is, it's a vegetable, but I mean, like, they think it's like a green vegetable. Like, it's bad. Like, and, I was depressed, even though I knew I had to do stuff. I was in a funk. So the place I first ended up in, you're in, a really small room with bunk beds, and there's about 14 women and one toilet and one shower, and you don't leave that room. Pretty much, you're supposed to get an hour of exercise, but half the time we didn't get it because the men needed the room, or so you'd be in a room between 23 and 24 hours a day, and there was nowhere to go. Like, it was small. And so you could get pizza on Fridays, and I love pizza, so I would eat a whole pizza. Like, I would, because it was nothing, and that's where the weight started. I was gaining the weight in there.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
And, I was probably 115 pounds when I went in. I had put on 30 pounds in there. And then they moved us to a different facility in New Jersey, because the living conditions were so bad that the federal contract was pulled because people were getting sick. It was like, we didn't have hot water for our shower for over a month in the winter. So like there was, it was bad. And, and it's not to get too much into it, but the way that humans are treated in this country and and it's really, I was one of the only white people in there, and in this particular county, it's called Passaic County. And it's just, I really got to see how disproportionate, like how things just are not fair in any way, shape, or form in any level in our country. And it was infuriating. It definitely got me, and I made a lot of close connections. I was treated well. Like I'm a very, like I say, I'm like a chameleon. I can go anywhere and fit in usually. And it's funny because I never felt like I fit in growing up, but I just feel like I can fit in anywhere. Like I can make friends. That is something I realized that in prison, actually, that I'm, because you see who you are when you're sober, and yes. I never really knew myself because I didn't have a real identity.
Well, you were sober for the first time, right? You were sober
since like 15.
With all the demons, right? You're sober with your thoughts and your feelings, and you're in this situation. I mean, that is a real reality check, right?
And it was, and it really. So I had ended up working in Passaic County in the kitchen, the laundry room rather, and like they'd bring the trays by. So like sometimes I could get different food, but I would eat. And where I first noticed it, I don't think I put this in the book. There used to be a show on. It's like MTV. This lady, Jackie, was a trainer. They were like out of LA, and she had her own like fitness show where she was like the fitness guru, owned a gym. And I remember that's when I started. I'm like, I want to, like, that looks cool. Like she's like running the show. So it started there. And then I never watched it that much because it was hard to watch TV there too, because there were two TVs. One in English and one in Spanish, and everyone would fight over them. So I just assumed not to bother watching TV unless something I liked came on, because there were two tiny TVs. And when I was in the laundry, I got to watch TV by myself. So I found that show and I was obsessed. And I was like, I'm going to be a trainer. Like, I think this is, and I don't know why I didn't put it in the book, because I thought about it one day, and then I just started working out a lot. That's really where I started working out, in the new facility mostly. The original one I tried, but it was like, and because I did go to gyms before this happened. I played soccer. I started going to a gym when I was like 19, and I smoked cigarettes. Like I worked out like 2 or 3 times a week and thought I was like, I'm in shape. I don't eat burgers. I eat Caesar salad. Like, it was ridiculous what I thought was healthy back then, while I'm having a cigarette on the way to work. You know what I mean?
That's hilarious. So while you were, at some point while you were in these various facilities, you did take massive control of your physical and your mental health, right? You kind of maybe inspired by this television show, Divine Intervention, whatever you call it. You did take massive control of your physical and mental health without any resources. It's not like there was a lovely Planet Fitness gym and a great salad bar and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you really had to kind of scrap and create something from nothing. So tell me about that.
So the second facility, this was also New Jersey. This was where I started. So there was a big, trying to describe it. It was like it was a pod, they called it. So their rooms were on the first floor and the second, and there was staircases along, like the rooms were up. Like, so I'd run up and down the stairs. I'd lunge across and then run up and down the stairs. There was a room, like a little kind of like a little gym area attached that you could go in at certain times of the day. And the guy, I was using a volleyball, and the rec guy got me a soccer ball. He brought one in for me, and I would play soccer, like just to burn calories. I'd kick the ball on the wall. There were a couple little like machines, like a reverse Roman chair. There was like a pull-up bar, which no one could do a pull-up there. Like I was like most people were fatter than they should be because of the food. I started trying to eat better. I'd trade people, like we get apples there, and I'd trade for an apple. I'd give someone my cake, or, I started trading food to eat healthier. The commissary was really hard, but they had carnation instant breakfast. So I'd have a carnation during the middle of the day as like a snack instead of like something else gross that we could have had. I just really tried to eat the best I could figure out. I didn't grow up eating terribly either. My mom wasn't really a huge processed food person. So I think I had a better idea than some of the people in there. People made fun of me for working out. They're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh, yeah. And I said something one day. I'm like, because I was in a rough situation. There was some rough people in there, and also like beautiful, like amazing people. But people would bust my balls. I'm like, you know what, you bitches, excuse my language, but you're all going to be fat when you get out, and I'm going to look good. I'm like, so keep making fun of me.
Yeah.
A couple days later, 2 people would want to come out and exercise with me because I'm like, good, you can all be fat when you get out. Like, because I didn't, instead of the old me would have just got bullied and like got angry and walked away. Like this time, I'm like, no, you know what? Go ahead and make fun of me. Like, you're just jealous because you're too lazy to do anything. And they're like, whatever, blah, blah. Like everyone's playing pinochle and like watching TV all day.
Yeah.
And I was tired of it. I looked in the mirror one day. I'm like, I'd never been fat in my life. And I was like, I am not going to be a fat person. Like, and I'm not going to do this. And if I'm trying to change everything about myself, I need to go from that too. Like that was, at least that wasn't an issue when I got in, and I created a new issue coming in.
Tell me about the mental health piece, because I know that you mentioned depression in the book, and also your brain was clear for the first time from any substances. And I know that sounds like you have some trauma in your background that was really untreated. So tell me a little bit about that mental health component.
So I think, in those places, there wasn't a lot of, there was no resources really either, unless someone threatened to kill themselves and then they'd come in. I always liked to read. I just couldn't read, not because I couldn't read. I wrote extremely well. I'm literate, extremely literate, but I couldn't pay attention. Right. So this time I was like, I'm going to read about things that are going to make me better. Like, I don't really have a religion. I don't believe in the one I was born in. I'm going to read about religions and see if one of those sticks. And I'm going to read about this and see if that helps. And I really got into spirituality, karma, things like that. I really gravitated towards that. So I kind of created my own spirituality in there. I realized I've always been a kind person. So I was helping this one woman from Africa to read and write. Me and this other lady would trade, and she was Mexican. So she'd help me with some Spanish. I'd teach her some English, so I started just growing as a person with what I had in front of me. And I think that was the mental health piece too. It was like getting to know myself, like being like, what, I'm alive. I'm going to have to change because I can't live like this anymore. So how am I going to get better? And I would read a lot. I'd ask for people to send me books because that's really all you can do in there. And I would read magazines. I would get subscriptions to magazines, like psychology magazine, because I like psychology. I did go to junior college for a little while, and I took psychology. We had it in high school. So I gravitated. I feel like I did a lot of my own work until I was able to get to the federal level. Because once I got sentenced, I was put in federal prison, and that was a lot different. There's a lot more resources.
So in your book, you also talk about that, you started this fitness journey, and like you said, it was you you were the outlier, but over time, you actually had a following, you actually taught fitness classes, you actually got certified, you actually got funding somehow for equipment, and really started kind of whole program. I mean, tell me about that. That's wow.
So when I started in the federal level, I was in the camp, they call it. It's like where Martha Stewart went, not the same place, but that's it's one guard, 200 women, super it's I wouldn't call it fun, but it's laid back. I was sleeping with women. I wasn't getting, not that I wasn't doing, I was still working out every day. I had a job. I learned how to paint there, legit paint. And it's funny because I can paint well, and people you do know how to paint. They're like, where'd you learn? I call it college. And so I got a scale while I was there too, which is cool. Because I was in the construction, so we got to do construction on the officers' houses. And I ended up I started yoga there. Actually, this one woman, this older Asian woman, would do the tapes. And I'd asked her one day if I could do yoga with her, and I would do yoga there. Then I decided that I needed more than the 40-hour program they were going to give me. I'm I was an addict since I was 15. Nothing, this 40 hours is bullshit. I'm hooking up with chicks. I'm not doing the right thing here.
But your thinking isn't changing, right? Your thinking isn't changing. Yeah. Totally hear you. Yeah.
And they said, there's a program behind the fence, and they might give you a little time off, and it's a lot more intensive. So that's where I went. To the drug program behind the fence. And that's where I ended up at the gym there. I started working there just to clean at first. And then I ended up doing abs there all the time by myself, just working out abs. And then a bunch of women were like, can we come do abs with you? And then finally the guy's like, you need to have a class. You're taking up too much room. So I'm like, well, I only clean. And he's like, well, I'm going to give you a class. And I had to take a test. They make you take a little test to see if you can help, teach people.
Yeah.
And it went from that to I ended up taking over this. Well, this is the scary part. This one woman who had life, And I'll give you a little, I like to do like, I'm an imaginary person. So just picture this woman and she has a gold tooth. She's got life, gold tooth with a dollar sign. Like she's a gangster. And they decide that she got put in segregation again, because they always segregate everybody if you get in trouble, and then she got in trouble. So they put her in seg. So once they segregate you, you don't know how long you're there. Like they can tell you it's a while. It's like right now you're stuck. Basically, you're not in Gen Pop anymore for a while. So they're like, do you want to take her class over? And I was like, no. And then I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I don't want to take her class. Like she's going to get out and fucking kick my ass, And they're like, please, can you take it over? And when she got out, I explained what happened. I'm like, look, and she was cool. She's like, I'll do the other class. It's fine. Like, I'm like, I'm not trying to take this from you. Please. Like, I want to take it back. And she was okay. And the class was cool. I did a circuit and, me and this girl I was actually talking to at the time in there, like hooking up with, she helped me with some of the stuff because we just used fitness magazines. Like I had no idea. And, we started doing a class and then I ended up, and even there was like a gym with like weights. I did my own workouts there. And sometimes people wanted to work out and I wouldn't because there was it was like called a hustle in there. There's one woman who was a trainer, like allegedly, she just decided that's what she was going to do. And people would come up to me and I'm like, nope, because she's making money. Like she's charging them commissary. So you have to be really careful about like stepping on people's feet in there. And that was another thing that I was good at is like really working around. So I wouldn't train people, but I'd work out with people and it really became passion. Like I was good at it. I lost a ton of weight. I looked great. I was eating, and there they do have a salad bar. So like I was actually, and the food's not amazing, but compared to what I had, it was like the best thing, and I ate salad. I gave myself little indulgences, but I ate really well, it as well as you can in a situation like that. I was feeling good. I was doing my program. I followed the rules, obviously sleeping with women, you can get in a lot of trouble for doing that there because you're not supposed to, but there's a couple of rules that you're there. You need companionship. Not everyone's perfect, but I did. Yeah. I followed the things I felt I really needed to stick with. And I paid attention to I took ownership of what I did wrong. This is me. I did this. I wasn't, feeling sorry for myself or blaming it. Like, oh, it's my boyfriend or my girlfriend or someone did this. Cause a lot of people, even in those programs, had those attitudes.
Yeah. That is a great point and something that was powerful in your book. I mean, you really took a responsibility and accountability for everything, right? I mean, you really did. I hate this phrase, but you really did own it. No shaming, no blaming others. That is powerful. That is powerful. And so is that like a character trait of yours, or did you learn? That's a big switch mentality wise.
My dad was kind of like a, no nonsense guy. He was great. He was funny. Like, he busted you up, but he was kind of like a no nonsense guy. And I think a lot of that was like, I'll give you an example. I was 17. I had a driver's license. I had a job. It was from a town. It was in a town like a half an hour away and it was snowing really bad. And I said, they want me to come in because they called on this is when you had you couldn't have privacy at your house, like the kitchen. I answered the phone in the kitchen. He's like, who's that? I'm like, it's Shoney's. They want me to go in. My mom's like, that's really bad. You shouldn't drive out there. Well, no one else will go on the salad bar. No, it was ridiculous. No one showed up, but needless to say, and he's like, you're going to get your ass in the car and drive to work. If they need you at work, you're going to go. I'm like, Dad, what if this night? He's like, I taught you how to drive in the snow, go slow and get your ass to work. So I was like, oh, whatever. And I did nothing. But, I think he was pretty tough about things. I was still a terrible child, but, he would say things everything. It was just like, too bad, suck it up. Or this is your fault. You did it. Why are you upset? You're the one who did this. I came downstairs, he grounded me one day and I said, are you upset with me? And he goes, why would I be upset? You're the one who's grounded. It's not my problem. It's yours. So I think that was instilled in me a lot,
That's
now
powerful.
I love it now. I get my dad passed away, but I get such a kick out of some of the one-liners, and it was because it made me insane as a child,
Sure.
But now it's even I was taking nails for my treehouse, and he's like, you don't work, you can't have these. like I was a kid. I'm like, what am I going to do? And he handed me a bucket of rusty nails, basically, that were all bent. And he showed me how to bang them out, straighten them out with a hammer. He's like, this is what you get when you don't work. You'll get something like, so everything was like, own it. It's yours. It's your problem. It's not, so now when I think back to it, I think you asking me that question is because no one's asked me like why I'm like that. Or I think I do have a guilty conscience. So that's some of it too. Like if I do something wrong, I do feel really bad. And I think the reason I didn't feel so bad when I was high all the time is because I was high all the time.
Oh,
but like,
right. Yeah,
I could care less. But now that I really do feel bad if I do something and I don't, talk about it, or
take responsibility, right? Take responsibility. Yeah.
I do. I actually feel terrible when I do something, or I wrecked something, broke something, I borrowed something, and something happens. I don't feel well, and it could be the simplest thing, and I won't feel good. I don't know where. I'm assuming it's how I was raised. Or, sometimes I think some people have it in them more than others too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's complicated. It's a whole nother topic, right? But I think it's never one thing, right? It's complicated. There's a little bit of genetics in there. There's some character in there. There's some, environment in there. And then, you have to be able to take some of that ownership for yourself, because that's also a decision, right? You could be blaming and moping around and how am I going to get out of this? This sucks, blah, 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 right? But you're not, right? You are just killing it, right? You're just killing it. You're taking responsibility and you're getting up every day and you're working out and eating right under the craziest conditions. And you're still doing it today, right? This is also just days. This is but still embracing this today, this mentality and this lifestyle.
Yeah. And I've actually gotten a lot better. When I got home, I was allowed to drink at some point when I got home, and I liked wine. Like I wasn't worried. That wasn't really my issue. So when I got home, I did like when I was allowed to again, like I'd have margaritas on the weekends, or I'd be like, and any free person in their like 30s, I think I was 31. And so I was enjoying myself. And, I'd eat crappy on Monday because you're still feeling a little funny. And now I've gotten to the point where I don't do that kind of stuff either, and I've gotten a lot better. My eating habits have gotten even better than they used to be. I find that I'm growing more than I did even when I thought I was doing well. So I like to grow as a person. I'm really, there's a lot of things I really still need work on every day. I struggle to be better, We
all do. Yeah. We all do. Yeah. And I think that's powerful too, to recognize and have the humility, right? To say, I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly growing. I don't have all the answers. I'm open, right? I'm open to learning. I'm open to growing. I'm open, to getting up every day and doing the work, right? There's power to that. There really is power to that. We've covered a lot of ground already. So let's pause a moment. Let's kind of take a couple of breaths and I just do want to check in with you.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? What's coming up? What are you noticing in the body?
Well, I definitely, this is the first time I've actually had anybody other than just like people who are curious who I let read my book, ask me questions about it. I'm still at the point where I haven't shared it with everyone or just my story. That's it's funny because it's who I am today. There's also still like a stigma. So sometimes there's that insecurity in the back of my head, or I just don't feel it talking about it. I do want to share my story, and there's a lot of things I really feel like can help a lot of people. It's just, it's kind of comes in waves, where like talking about it, having you interview me for it, it's really different. I've never had anyone actually like a professional interview, other than like people asking silly questions or some good ones, but Orange is the New Black came out and everyone's like, oh my God, is that, and I'm just like, so it is. And it's like, that is a big thing too, that when that came out, I kind of stopped talking about my story because it really, some of it's similar, but it made it kind of ridiculous. I'm like, I don't want to get into like that. It doesn't serve me well to even talk about my story right now. So that kind of put a damper on me trying to share, because I was like, I don't want to answer that. Like, where this is my life. This isn't a TV show,
right. Right. So am I interpreting that as feeling a little vulnerable, feeling a little unsure, a little vulnerable, a little Yeah. Am I interpreting that incorrectly?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not so much. I feel good talking to you about it, like, and talking on this podcast about it, just because I feel like a lot of your listeners they've read your books, which are amazing, by the way. And I feel like, coming out of that, like really becoming somebody because of your issues, traumas, anything, it goes well with what you're trying to spread. So I feel comfortable sharing my story because I feel like this is the kind of platform where people are listening to be like with their hearts. And it's not like someone being like, oh, is that show on Netflix? That makes me uncomfortable. And the stigma, I feel like there is a huge stigma, and I still struggle with that. Even with my company, when I try to do free yoga, it's like, I have to do a background check. And it's like, oh my God, should I tell people, or is it going to show up because it's federal? Like, there's all these questions. Are people going to look at me differently? And
it was
I don't
want years ago.
Right, but still, like in my head, I have that fight still in certain situations. In other ones, I feel good because it makes me feel powerful that I did do that. Because I can think, I think back to some of the things I went through and how hard some of them were and how easy it was for me. So I'm like, I don't know if everyone would have found it like as easy, like to actually survive. Like, I don't know if everyone would have done as well. And I need to be proud of myself for that, because I was able to do well, not get beat up. There's a lot of things that can happen,
Yeah. I mean, you really almost thrived, right? You took this really sucky situation and you turned it around. I mean,
I did
turn it around from it to serve you. I mean, really, it really turned it around to serve you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is really powerful.
Well, and Kate, I think the thing with that is I don't think people look at everything positive, like out of a situation where, like, I can compare this to like the lockdown. I was given time to just work on myself. I was given time to only care about myself. Obviously I cared about people in my life and I felt bad that this happened and they were stressed out, but I really just woke up and worried about myself for once. And I was like, I really can figure out what I need and who I am and what I can figure out who I am. I have all this time to figure out who I am. And it's like, I have all this time to read books and do things and, and it's, the food sucks and there was a lot of really shitty things. But, at the end of the day, it was like, it was just similar when the pandemic happened. I'm like, who cares? Like, I can do my fence. Like, I can do all these things. Like, so for me, I think I always feel rushed and overwhelmed. And it feels, when someone handed me, the universe was like, you're going to have all this time to work on yourself. And I was like, you know what, maybe this is exactly what I needed, where no one was pulling me in any direction, and I'm structured. I have to wake up at the same time. I have to eat at these times. This is what time you're doing this. So without being aware, the system itself structured me, which helped my ADHD because I was on a routine. Yeah. And then it was easier for me to focus on the books I was reading. I had less choice, which isn't good, but I had less choice in what I could and couldn't do. So I didn't have to think so much. I couldn't put on an outfit to go anywhere. I wore these same clothes every day. So all these decisions that we make on a regular basis that stress us out. It's like, oh, you're wearing the green outfit again, and you're going to wear a green outfit for the rest of the year.
And here's lunch, and here's dinner, and that's a great point. That's a great point.
And I always make a joke. I think a lot of people should go to prison.
Great point. That is a great point. Yeah. So quick question here. Let's maybe move it up to kind of present day. Sure. So we've got listeners listening in, and some people, what it's like in life, right? Sometimes you're trying to start some kind of routine, you're trying to eat healthy, you're trying to work out. Sometimes, you've been doing really well and you've fallen off the wagon, and, it's been 3 months and you're trying to get back on track. What would you advise somebody?
Honestly, like, kind of to piggyback on what we talked about earlier, you have to own that you're being lazy. If you're being lazy, like, you have to own it. Because I had to own it. There was a situation I got in there when I was almost home, and I didn't, like, I had to own the fact that, like, I don't want to do it. I'm depressed. I'm stuck here, and I had to tell myself, like, get your ass up. Jumping jacks, do them. Like, I don't care. And I literally would I would drag myself with everything I had. Like, I'd cry sometimes and just lay there and sleep. And then I'm like, you know what? You're going to do 25. I wrote down 25 jumping jacks, 10 mountain climbers until I got tired. I would try to do rounds. So I picked like 4 or 5 exercises, body weight, squats, and I do like 3 rounds. And like, I'm like, I still have energy. I'm going to do a 4th round. And I would make myself do something I'd force myself. And I'd say to myself, like, you know what? You got to look in the mirror literally and be like, the reason that you are not doing anything is because of you. It's not because of your circumstance. It's not because you don't have money. It's not because you don't have time. Because you don't have to have money. I had nothing. Like I was sweating and like I pull my t-shirt off to be my sports bra and they're like, put your shirt back on. Like I was hot and I couldn't. So I rolled my sleeves up and kept going. And it literally, I'm not trying to be cold, but there's nothing more depressing than being locked in a tiny place and not being able to have anything. And literally like, yes, like it's the worst possible situation. And if I could do it, like in a situation like that, if you have YouTube and you can follow along a video, it's a heck of a lot easier. And it's free to have YouTube. Like I didn't have that. I had a Walkman and half the time the commercials come on when you're getting going on the radio station or some song you don't like comes on, like, you know, that's a bummer. But like, that's it. I had a little Walkman with radio Walkman. And it took everything in my soul, but you know what? I wanted it. And that you have to tell, you can't say, oh, I wish I looked like this, or I wish I could do that, because you're just feeling sorry for yourself. So the first step is stop feeling sorry for yourself. Like people have it harder than you. And that's the way you have to look at it. And if you want what you want, you have to work at it, and it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. You know, nothing in life that is worth anything comes easy. You have to fight for it. It's just the way it is. And then the satisfaction that you did it. I would be done and I'm like, I did an hour of body weight movement, an hour in a tiny, tiny box in the size of like a bathroom, you know?
Yeah.
An hour of exercise. I don't know how. I laugh sometimes because I'm like, man, like I would get an hour done. Like it started off with like 10 minutes, literally. And then it was an hour. Like before I knew it. And I was like, how did I do that? Like, I can't believe it. And, you know, I literally just wrote it down, and like writing was fun. So I'm like, I'm going to write these little exercises down. They weren't anything. It didn't take a genius. Like everyone knows what a jumping jack is. Yeah. You know, I mean, if you're not in fitness, you might not know what a plank is, but a lot of people do. Like you can Google. That's the difference. You have all even if you don't have a lot, you still have more resources than I did when I was there. And if I look at that, like my mom will make a joke sometimes. She's like, well, not everyone's like you. I'm like, no, everyone's human. Everyone has self-talk. It's just how much you're willing to listen to yourself, and how much do you actually want it? Or do you want to sit and feel bad for yourself? And then, oh, I wish I could do that, but you don't understand. I'm just so busy. Like do 10 minutes in the morning, do 10 minutes at lunch. Like there are so many different things to do, but you have to pick you first. That would be my advice. Like pick you first. And decide that nothing's going to get in the way of me getting healthy. That was one of the things I really had to say too, is nothing's going to get in my way. Like I want to take care of myself, because you can't, you can't take care of other people until you take care of yourself. Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to piggyback on that. I'm right now, I'm coming off, I've never had bronchitis in my life, and I'm coming off like the worst case of bronchitis. I've been wiped out on all the fitness and running. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sharing that because feels like having to start over, right? I'm having to start from scratch. My lung capacity isn't quite so much, but I have, piggyback on what you're saying, I have forced myself every day, even if I don't feel like it, strap those shoes on, get my butt out there, walk for 20, because I walk, run for 20 minutes, come back in, some planks, couple of push-ups, like sissy push-ups, because I don't have the upper body strength right now, and then, half an hour, and I do it twice a day. And it's like, it's non-negotiable, right? Right. Such a huge part, personally, of my physical health and mental health. It's just such a huge part of who I am. But there's no equipment, right? There's no equipment needed. And, it's just non-negotiable, right? So that is definitely a mindset piece. Definitely. And I mean, like you said too, you get like to say the mental health part, like I realize that exercise, it literally is what keeps me like mentally stable. I mean, I couldn't do any of this without, like, obviously I'm a trainer, but I literally, like, I know when I have an injury, and I have like weird little injuries, and that's another thing, like where I don't have sympathy for people when they're like, oh, I don't have time. Like, I constantly have some stuff. And I think I put my body through hell, and I think my body's catching up with me. And like, I had bad car accidents. I did crazy things when I was high, like jumping off things, landing on things. I have constant like injuries, tweaks, constant weird inflammations. Constantly have something wrong. I still play soccer. I still obstacle race. I got hit in the face with the soccer ball 2 games ago, and I got whiplash. I'm just coming off that, and I still worked out every day. I was cranky because I couldn't do what I want, but it is mental health too, and it's such a crucial part of my mental health.
You know, I'm a therapist, right? So I work with lost trauma addiction, and I have to tell you, I practice myself, but preach to everybody. You know, that food and the movement and the hydration and the sleep, right? All of those, and also a sense of community, right? Those are all crucial elements in all of our mental health. Whether you have an official diagnosis or just general in our mental wellness, right? Those things they are non-negotiable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find that in my life, and I find that in the life of the people I serve too, right? The ones that tend to get some kind of exercise, they sleep well, they're hydrating, they're eating well, they just do better, right? They just do in general. Yeah. Yeah. So powerful. Thank you for sharing a bit of that journey. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I also read in your book, you're big on tracking, right? You're big on goals and tracking. And so tell me, because I am not, and that is not me, so tell me a little bit about that. I'm curious.
So it's interesting there. I felt I was better at tracking, a lot better there, because it kept me like in that situation, especially. It was something I wanted to see, like what happened, because it was kind of new to me to take this good care of myself. Yeah. So I would, I was like, all right, I need to write down, and I don't do New Year's resolutions. I do New Year's goals. And then right next to it, like I put if I accomplished it or not at the end of the year. And then I write down what else I did. So I really like to pick something, like a few big things, especially to do. And that's like a goal I'm reaching towards. So I find when you're goal orientated, or you put down what you've done or what you're working towards, there's a purpose. So it's like I'm everyone's different. I'm a kind of person, when I say I want to do something, I'm going to do it, come hell or high water. Mm-hmm. And I find that when I write something down, I'm like, I'm committed now. I have to do this. To an extent. I mean, if there's an injury and I can't, there's certain things, but, when I don't accomplish something, I tend to be really hard on myself. So sometimes I'll accomplish something I didn't plan, and I just write that right next to it. It's like, no, you didn't do this, but you did this. So here you go. You still did something. But I find that when you track down success or goals or anything like that, it keeps you accountable to yourself. It's on paper now, and I committed to myself I'm going to do it. When I was away, I found that tracking all that stuff was a lot better for me too, because it was a structure where, it's like you have to do this. Now you did this. Look at your weight went down. This went up. This is growing. You're doing this many more push-ups. You're doing all these things, and it's motivating, because I feel, now my tracking is different than it was there for sure. Like, I don't do the watches. Okay. I don't do apps of any kind for but this is a part of my ADHD. I'm a little more of a naturalist, I guess, where, even I do keep I weigh out my protein. That's the only thing food-wise with my macros. I don't measure out. I have an estimate because I have done it in the past. I eat a lot of vegetables. I don't necessarily measure out anything else in my diet. I just see how I feel in my full. I've gotten to a point now where I feel good the way I eat. And when I don't eat something right, I know. Yeah. I find that personally, tracking or obsessing too much can be bad too. And I get stressed out with a lot of gadgets and things. So my watch just has the time on it. The way I track my progress now is I usually remember what my last weight was, and if I'm going heavier. As far as miles go, if I am going to run, a distance and I need a tracker, I will go. I usually just make one of my friends run with me who has one.
There you go. I do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. For my fitness now, I just try to kind of I schedule out my workouts, and I know what I'm doing, as far as that goes. So I have a schedule. I do MoveNat. So I'll do MoveNat twice a week. I do a couple strength days twice a week, movement twice a week. I run in the woods. I play soccer. So I have more of a schedule, a routine now, as opposed to like strict tracking. But I journal every morning. So I think I'm more nowadays, I'm more of a routine person. Mm-hmm. But I do track successes and goals and things like that. I absolutely, it gives you purpose. It's like, I want to succeed at this year. Yeah.
And probably gives you purpose. And also you can maybe, as you look back, you can see the growth, right? You can see progress, right? I'm doing 25 sissy push-ups right now, but if I keep going in a month, I'll be up to 50 big girl push-ups probably, right? So I can see the benefit of that. I can see that. So another question you just sparked my memory. Reading in your book that journaling and mindfulness have been a pretty big part of your journey as well. So tell me a little bit about that and how those tools have been helpful.
So I definitely, when I was there, like I mentioned before, I was trying to get into like spirituality more. So it was funny because it was so loud in there and everything, like the first place. But I started trying to do a little meditation. I don't like sitting still. It makes me feel agitated. I still don't enjoy sitting still at all. I'm very busy in my brain. The one piece, and it's funny you pulled this out because I was like, man, we're going to talk about mindfulness. This is what I struggle with the most. I love yoga. I love Shavasana. I love Shavasana because it makes me be mindful. I like being forced. I love to meditate when I'm there. Like if we're together, there's a Buddhist place I go to, but as soon as soccer started, I couldn't go anymore. And I'd go sit and do the Buddhist meditation because they're making me do it. So my purpose, I'm in a place the purpose of the place is to meditate. So therefore I enjoy it. At Shavasana, the purpose is you just did yoga. Now you meditate, you lay there. So in those scenarios, I really thoroughly enjoy it. At home, do not like it. So there's have you heard of Wim Hof?
Yes.
So I did that during the pandemic. I didn't miss a day, except one day I had a bad period. I didn't miss a day. I did it religiously. But as soon as I went back to work, what do you think went first?
The Wim Hof. Breathing.
Yeah. So then I love Erwan Lacour from Movnat. He's a founder. The guy is like, I love him. I think he's amazing. And he does his own breath hold work. Okay. Where you don't blow out the carbon monoxide. I get them backwards. Where you actually just see if you can hold your breath. And I believe I read he holds his breath for up to 8 minutes. And his model is to be so calm that you don't get nervous that you can't breathe. Like that's his whole. So I'm going to look into his course because honestly, Kate, like I said, I love going to places to meditate. I'm really bad at home. And I find that if I have to hold my breath, that's the athlete in me is being challenged. So for me, that's my next, because I was thinking, I saw your question and I was like, man, the mindfulness thing, because I am good at it when I'm prompted to do it.
Yeah.
I like to, and as a trainer, I help people do things all day. Sometimes it's nice when someone tells me what to do. And I find with mindfulness, like if it's like time to meditate, I'm like, they said time to meditate. I'm going to do this, it's prompting me to. So I don't love videos. I had a guy, he's from India, Guru Prasad. He's a sweetheart, but we do Zoom and it's in India and there's like monkeys going by, there's cars beeping. It was really hard. And I just didn't like being on video to meditate. And, I've tried a lot of different things. So for me now, this is my new, I'm going to try Erwan's. And I do have another place because the Buddhist thing was on Sundays. That's my yoga. That's my soccer day now. I still go to yoga every Saturday. So that is definitely where I get some of my mindfulness. Because
the body, mind connection. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I find too, like just doing, honestly, when no one's home at my house and like doing projects, I find is soothing for me. I'm a doer. And everyone laughs like, don't you relax? I'm like, it's relaxing to like get into like something like weird, quirky project at my house. Like that to me is like, I'm connecting, I like to garden. Like to me, that's a way to get into mindfulness too, because you're just kind of doing your thing.
Yeah, right. Because you make such a great point because that is also a flow state, right? That is when you're really present, right? Because let's face it, mindfulness is about being really present, really here and now. right? When you're into a project like kind of gardening or painting or whatever that is, you're in this kind of flow state, right? You are just focused on the thing. You're not, it's like this feeling, right? That time just goes. You're just really in this moment, and that's beautiful. I mean, that is mindfulness at the essence.
And it's, like decluttering is my favorite, like purging closet stuff. And honestly, it comes back to being in prison where I'm like, I didn't have anything and I lived fine. Like, why do I need all these clothes? When's the last time I wore the shirt? Someone else can wear these. I love purging is probably, it's funny. I didn't even put it towards mindfulness, but purging is super good for my mindfulness because I don't think about anything. I really get everything out, and then I have less stuff, and I feel someone with my brain. I do not do well with disorganization or clutter. I feel crazy when my house has clutter in it. I feel intense, like I feel crazy.
No, I totally get you. I feel the same way. I mean, I can literally, when it's cluttery and there's shit everywhere and stuff, every single surface, right? I literally feel my nervous system like, I literally, there's a physiological response.
It's true. It's like,
I hear you.
And like, we got a puppy recently, and like, I'm getting used to, he pulls all his toys out of the toy box, and I'm okay with that. But like, we just weren't organized because of him for a little bit. Yeah. And I'm like, I came home to my wife, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, we have to clean everything. And she's like, I feel you, babe. I'm like, no, like today, like it has to be done because I was losing my mind. And like, to your point, it's like the mindfulness comes in a lot of ways, I think. I do feel I need to find, this is where I'm going to try Irwan's. I need to find some space, like not, I'm like, do I do this? Because I felt like when I was going to the Buddhist place, the once a week made a difference. So I think the pressure of like, everyone's got this, you just need 5 minutes a day. You need 10 minutes a day. And I think the pressure of what I'm hearing about mindfulness and how you should do it, that turns me away too, where I find if I can find a couple days for like, it might be, I was almost 90 minutes I went. I'm like, so that whole 90 minutes and packed in one day was better for me than 5 minutes a day. Cause I don't like that. It takes me a half an hour to get into it.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and it's like so many of these things, I just want to say to you and to the listeners, there is no right way, right? There is no one right way. So just, whether it's therapy or mindfulness or even working out, exercise, food, right? There is no one way. It's really trying to figure out what works for you, right?
Right.
For you. I think that's so important. Yeah. So important. So tell me a little bit about your life today. What does your life look like today?
So present day, I have a house in the town of Warren, and I live with my wife, 2 cats and a dog. I used to compete in obstacle races. I had a back surgery, an ankle surgery I had broken my ankle, skateboarding when I was 25, and then the hardware worked its way out after a race. So, I had it removed, but the doctors broke my ankle, and that was traumatic. So from 2018 to 2020, I had 2 surgeries and then and I also tore ligaments in the good ankle, like really bad. So I had a little depression and hiccup there. But other than that, I was competing in smaller obstacle races like the 5K for speed. I did some Spartans. I've done a couple Tough Mudders, a lot of local obstacle races are smaller ones. Soccer, I still play soccer. I definitely love that. I love getting out in the woods and running. That's probably one of my favorite things to do still. And it's things happen. I've been told I shouldn't run. I couldn't run. I went and got PRP. I was running again. I am determined to constantly trail run. Like, I don't care how slow, fast. Again, that really is meditative for me. Yeah. So I've been doing that. Soul Friend Yoga, the company that my friend started and had me come in. That's been good because I feel like I do enjoy giving back. And it hasn't been as easy to give back to certain populations just because of like red tape and things like that, like bureaucracy. But we're really trying to get just to help people. I really do enjoy being a personal trainer too. Like I really like to help people change and have their attitudes different about exercise. I have some people come in here and they love it right away. They like doing the most monotonous things with me. I have other people like, I hate all of this. I'm only here because I need to stay in shape. And I'm like, that's a challenge for me I'm going to find what you like. And being a MovNat trainer is great because MovNat is different than any other training.
Tell me about MovNat. I'm honestly not familiar with that. So tell me and the listeners a little bit about what that is. Yeah.
So MovNat it's basically stands for natural movement.
Okay.
And what it is, it's a totally different workout style because it's going to give you real world capabilities. So it's like physical fitness for real world capabilities. So, if I was going to do something, I taught this one woman, I'll give you an example. She's 71. I've been training her for years. We have 2x4s we use for balance in MovNat, like when you're indoors. I put her on the 2x4 and I've taught her how to get low. If you're going to, like, instead of just swinging your arms around because you're going to fall, you get low really fast, like drop down low. That's how you're going to regain balance because now you're lower to the ground, right? So we were practicing one day just walking on the balance beam and she lost her balance. She dropped low and just rolled over to the side. No, nothing happened. Now she's, there's people in their 60s who'd probably break something that are fairly new with me, who haven't been working out with me. And I was like, how do you feel? She's like, she giggled. She's like, I feel silly. I'm like, are you okay? She's like, nothing hurt. And, it's just that. If that was to happen to her in life where she slipped, her brain now is conditioned to get her low. So she might have a couple bruises, but that's some of it. Crawling. It's all stuff we do. Like, so I'll give you a quick example. Another one. I was at my friend's house. We're hanging out. We're having a glass of wine, watching her kid play. And her daughter was doing something in MovNat we call a slap landing. It's like it helps you break your fall when you jump. So her daughter was doing it perfectly. And I'm like, oh my God, she's doing a slap land. She's like, she does it all day. Eh? I'm like, no, like I paid a lot of money to learn how to do that again. I made a joke because it was something that she naturally by her own human knew how to do this.
Little human,
little kid. So natural movement, MovNat is literally everything you forgot or you were told you shouldn't do. It's everything. It's play. Essentially, it's play. And I had this one group. It was a CrossFitter, a marathon runner, an obstacle racer. Paul was in it. Okay. Another woman, she's a little older, but she does little obstacle races with us. Like she gets down, and like one other woman, who just comes into the gym and works out, just trying to be fit. They all in the mobility section alone, which is what I start with, all had totally different challenges, dysfunctions. And they were all like, I can't believe I can't do this. You made it look so easy. Obviously I should, I'm the trainer, but it was funny to watch how many people struggle with some things that for me, they're easy because I do it. But it just shows you how people are not moving the way they used to. Because I'm like, how can you not do this? I looked at one of the people who I'm friends with, I'm not going to insult anyone, but I'm very blunt anyway. And I'm like, you should be able to do this. You sit 8 hours and then you work out one. That's the problem, and like certain things like that. And it's like, these natural movements that you have these already, like these are in your library of movement. So the second we start, like, it's like trying to run through the woods and the path grew over, right? Yeah. We clear the path and now all of a sudden you're there again. So it's fascinating because you'll see people struggle the first couple of weeks. And if they practice one or two of the things on their own, they're already doing it again. So it's hanging, it's swinging, it's climbing, it's all these different natural movements. And it's you should definitely look it up. Look at some videos. I love it. Like it's the one I've done CrossFit. I've done a lot of different fitness modalities, but this is the one thing that I gravitate towards where I feel like connected to it, Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll check it out myself. And I'll also put a couple of links in the show notes, right? So people can jump on and look at some videos or check you out. Definitely.
And all ages and fitness levels can do it.
I mean, my one of my passions is for people later in life. And I think it's really important for this mobility stuff. So we're coming to the close here. I always ask my guests this final question. So, if there was one piece of sage advice you would want to share with listeners, from your life and your experience and your wisdom, what would that be?
I think it's, you have to believe in yourself. And if you want, anyone can change their life if they want it bad enough. Like, you can change your situation, your life. Like, you really, no matter what is going on. And, like we talked about earlier, like, as far as being fit and getting in shape, and you don't need much. You just need to really put yourself first and realize that you can do it. Like, get rid of the chatter around you and just really kind of take a look at yourself and start small. Like, you really have to start small. Like, that's a huge start with baby steps. But you have to keep moving. Like, that's the real key. If I could put it short, like, keep moving.
Yeah.
You have to keep moving.
Yeah, 100%. So it has been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Where can people reach you? Tell us about, your book, your products, and your services. Yeah, tell us about where people.
So my book that I sent you, it's in the Library of Congress, but I haven't found a publisher yet. So I'm probably going to self-publish. That's what I'm thinking. I've been trying for a while to find one. I just haven't seemed to. So that I'll definitely be getting, especially now that's on the podcast, if people want to read it. As far as where you can find me, I don't love social media. I do have a Facebook page. So if you look me up but if you want to reach out to me on, my email is Adriana@soulfriendyoga.com. So my company, Soul Friend Yoga, if you reach out, basically, if you're looking for me, and you can reach me through the email, but you could always hit me up on our Instagram, Soul Friend Yoga's Instagram, because I do answer some of the messages, or someone will tell me there's a message for you on there. So follow us on Soul Friend Yoga. Sometimes you'll see me on there. If you guys are listening today and you want to go shop, if you do capital SOUL 20, it'll give you 20% off on Soul Friend Yoga.
Nice. Thank you.
Yep. So that's definitely where you can reach me. I am at Bristol Total Fitness. If anyone's local and they ever want to check it out, come here. I'll give you a free day pass if you're local in the area. And we do a lot of obstacle races in the Northeast. So feel free to reach out if you want to hop on a team. Like, we're doing Charlton, Mass tomorrow. We have a race tomorrow.
Fantastic. So I just thank you. I thank you so much for your time and your openness and your authenticity. I just really have enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Thanks so much for listening. I truly appreciate you and your time. I love to hear from listeners, so connect with me at katechampionauthor.com. Remember to grab your free hiking guide, and please take a quick moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. Thanks so much. Take care. Until next time.